ton of bricks. And probably will again. For now, the Site Founder and Ruben Tish are planning an Irish wake to honor the fact it happened at all. No details yet outside of the fact that something will happen to celebrate the work, times, and joy of Hot Time in Old Town. Rest in peace, Hot Time in Old Town. Great little Chicago Fire syndicate. They always produce great little, to me, they were the vibe of the club. They were almost more reliable than some of these news than the people who are paid higher money to create to write for Chicago Fire. I mean, they just made more content. There was more of them. There's only one person on some of these other places for staff writers, right? But it was just like it felt like the lifeblood of fandom, of community, of what I would read to you guys would read, we'd banter about. Not everything would come out in the stories from Brian Sandolau and Oren Schwartz and Danny Santoromita and Danny Mahalik and Guillermo. Not everything would come out in those things. Some things would come out from Jiggly and Adnan and Ruben Tish and all the James Bridget Gordon and all the various characters that were over at Hot Time in Old Town. And to me, it was a great thing. I enjoyed it. I think I've posted one or two things there in the past. It's like guest posts on the side, not like as the Hot Time people, but they have guest post areas too. So, it's just been, so it's sad to see them go. However, guys, I'm not surprised. I'll tell you this as a Chicago Fire content creator. It's hard to make Chicago Fire content. The clicks don't seem to be there sometimes. The interest doesn't seem to be there, and it's not your fault. The viewer, the fan, for not clicking or not feeling compelled to click on the Chicago Fire media, because to you it's like, I'm in the same boat. Do I really want to read the same old story of the Chicago Fire just being pathetically behind the times again? And it just felt like you're just reading the same thing. Well, it's also part of the reason why we started this podcast, so we could liven that up and change the way people, kind of interact with the news and think that we all get hung up on it. Yeah, the news can be turds sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, the Chicago Fire media is not. They are bringing us content and everything we need that keeps this club relevant, that keeps this club in the presses, that gets people talking about this club. And if we aren't clicking it and supporting it, it doesn't become logical sense to do anymore. And it like, yeah, on a one sense, like, oh yeah, the heart's there, but the payoff, and the payoff is not just in money, guys. With media, I don't get paid shit for this on YouTube. And I know from hearing from other writers, they don't make a lot of money as well. They do a lot of this out of passion, but they'll make at least enough to survive, right? I do not make that at all here on this at all. I did make nothing. But it's hard to justify the time, the output for that little payoff. And it's like I said, it's not just in the dollars, but it's in the rewarding feeling you get from helping inform others. Because that's what these media people are doing. Brian has a passion for Chicago Fire, and he likes to share their successes, their woes, their narrative with us, the fans, and the greater audience of the world. And because there's something there in his eyes, in our eyes, in my eyes. That's why I have this channel. It's based around talking about Chicago Fire initially, and I've expanded it to talk about other things, including myths, legends, other sports, video games, stuff like that. We have an awesome talk about Atlantis in our last live stream. And then we have a nice little video coming out about that. So cool. We love talking about that stuff. But that's because the rewarding feeling from producing Chicago Fire content stopped being there at a certain point, because a lot of fans stopped coming. They grew tired. The message grew stale to them. So I can't blame them for leaving. And I can only thank all of you guys for sticking in there and hanging in there with us here at Spit and Fire, and hanging in with the Chicago Fire or the MLS or whatever MLS team you support. And it's hard to do it when I can see the statistic, and I see people, the interest in the Fire versus 2017 is smaller. There's less people interested in Chicago Fire right now than there were in 2017. And there weren't a lot of people interested in the Chicago Fire in 2017, albeit they had their best year in attendance that year because that's coincided with Bastian Schweinsteiger doing well, them making the playoffs, getting kicked out in the first round, and then never really having success after that. Stuff needs to change. Stuff needs to change. And stuff needs to change to make fans care, because this apathy, this brand apathy is kind of stuck here, guys. And the funny thing is,